Hey Pointer Nation, and welcome back to the Sports Hub. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving break. Lots of stuff happened in the sports world while we were away, and what we're going to do is catch you up on all of that. But first, we'll be right back. The 13th ranked Pointers men's hockey team split the weekend series against Concordia University of Wisconsin with a 2-1 win on Friday and a 3-3 tie on Saturday. Pointers are now 6-3-1 and tied for third place in the WIAC. The Pointers will play two consecutive conference opponents, starting with UW Stout Friday, then back home against Northland on Saturday. So Ashton, before Thanksgiving break, you and I were talking about how the hockey team has really been struggling this year to really get goals. And they've kind of turned around a bit. How have they really done that?
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's just a super basic answer in that they were able to, start getting those goals, start being able to get those goals again. I think one of the big things we were talking about is was power play, right?
Right. They had scored no goals on power plays.
Yes, and now they've gotten a few. It still hasn't been that great. They've only gotten 4, but. It's been better, and especially because you said they started the season off 2-2, and now they're 6-3-1, so they have a really nice stretch of 6 games, but it's really gonna be important now with these conference matchups coming up.
Right, and it's funny because they're playing UW Stout this Friday. And they're 2-0 in conference. In the WIAC Stout, they're technically in first place of the conference, but overall they're 2-6. So their only wins have come in conference, and so they're in first place, even though they're an under 500 record team. That just kind of shows you how different hockey is, because you're like, man, they're 2-6. How are they in first place? I mean, they won their first 2 conference games. That's how they're in first place.
Exactly, yeah. And like you said, it just shows you how the standings are just different in hockey compared to all the other sports in the Big Four.
Right, and we were talking about how they really struggled to get goals in these power plays sessions. And if you really want to put yourself back into national championship contention, those are an area where you really have to capitalize. When you have a man advantage, you have to get it. And like you said, 4 goals is better, but it should be more than that. Statistically, I believe they average more goals a game than their opponents. They've had a nice scoring stretch lately, but they're slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, so UWSP has around 2.8 goals per game, and then their opponents usually has 2.1. So rounding up, they do have around a goal more. But like we said, if they want to get back into that national title contention as they had in years past, they really need to start getting that higher. And something interesting to bring up with the power play is that even though they've scored less, they've only had 4. They've taken less shots in power play than their opponents, and their opponents only have 5. Which is not much when they've had over 10 more shots taken. Right. So that's also just something interesting to bring up.
No, absolutely, and your point of them not taking as many shots means, they're taking their time setting the offense up, getting better looks on goal. I know the few games that I have covered this year, me and Cale Jacoby did a couple games earlier in the year where they were just kind of quick fire on the goal, and now they seem to kind of just relax, set up their offense, get things ready to go, and as a result, they're winning more games. They're 6-3-1, which isn't, great, but they still have time to improve. It's not terrible by any means.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll definitely have a chance to prove themselves to be like the top of the WIAC this weekend if they can get two nice conference wins to start this upcoming weekend. We're getting close to finals week, so
true
pressures and stuff, not only on the players that they're student athletes, so they got to get ready for finals and sports as well.
Yeah, gotta make sure you keep up on your academics.
That's right. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll discuss how the Pointers men's basketball team did over break. So don't tune away. We'll be right back.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Pointers men's basketball team are on a 3-game win streak since they started the season 0-2. The Pointers have become a much more balanced team, shooting the ball well from beyond the 3-point range, along with playing some complementary defense. Pointers will face their toughest test of the season this Wednesday, where they will head down to Whitewater to take on the Warhawks in the WIAC Conference opener. Ashton, you and I were at the most recent home game, the home opener of the season we were at against Edgewood. There were a lot of things they did well, and there were definitely some things they can improve upon, but how have the Pointers been able to put this 0-2 start behind themselves and get going and win 3 straight games?
Yeah, and I think, as you put it before, they've just become a much more balanced team in terms of just both on offense and defense. Their 3-point shot has been improved drastically since those first 2 games, and it does make a big difference. Even if the statistics have led them to be at a bit of a disadvantage to their opponent, they still have been able to use this recent surge of confidence wins and really bring themselves back to the top of back near the top and middle top of the conference right now.
Absolutely, and the past few years for the Pointers have really just been down years basketball-wise. They've struggled a bit. I mean, obviously they had the shorter season last year with the COVID regulations, but I think it's definitely a chance, like you said, to have certain players step into the roles that they fit in. And there's definitely some guys that are down low in the post, that's their area, and there's definitely 3-point jumpers. But I do like the defense that they're playing lately. They played some aggressive defense, forcing turnovers on the teams, and they've been able to capitalize on that. I mean, we saw the last game against Edgewood. Really, ultimately, it came down to, can you make a 3-point shot and fast break points, and really that's what allowed the Pointers to win.
Exactly, yeah, and I think it's that aggression that's really allowing them right now to get these wins, and if they want to be successful in the upcoming couple of games, you said they're going to Whitewater, and Whitewater always is a really good team or a really good college when it comes to sports. No matter what sport they are in. So this is going to be a really big test to see if they can hang with the top dogs in the conference. And I think another thing it's good to mention is that these are against out-of-conference schools, so it really is important to bring that up and to see if this out-of-conference success will transfer to these in-conference games, which are more important in the long run.
Right. And the point of these, like around Thanksgiving time, the holiday time, they often do these smaller tournaments or whatnot against non-conference teams. And that can be beneficial for yourself if you're going, say, in the NCAA tournament down when you're going down the NCAA tournament later in the season. You're going against potentially conference opponents, non-conference opponents, whatever. It's good to get a variety of teams to play against. And we saw that first game, Edgewood really gave them everything they could. But the Pointers were able to withstand the body blows. They had some nice wins in this past win streak. But as you alluded to, Whitewater, they just seem to be, they're good at everything.
Pretty much,
apparently. And it's going to be a good test. And I think when you're a coach, obviously you don't want to be content with losing. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
You never want to be content with anything. But as long as really the Pointers can compete and put themselves in a position to win the game, you got to feel pretty proud of the way your team played. Ultimately, if it goes that way, right? We're just speculating theoretically, but you have to be proud of the way that they would play if they're able to compete with them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's that that not contention. It's that drive to be able to do better. And even if Whitewater might outclass them, and they just might outclass them, but at the same time, we don't know this yet. And this, like you said, is going to be a really, really good test for them. And I feel like this game is really going to set a precedent to what the season's going to be like, honestly, because after this, they play Eau Claire in Stevens Point. So this is going to be really interesting to see what unfolds within this next few days.
I agree. It's going to be a really important 2-game stretch. I mean, it's early in the season. It's fair or not to say that, but I do agree this will give us a chance to see how this season will go. Did Odell Beckham Jr. make a bad decision choosing Matthew Stafford in the Rams over Aaron Rodgers in the Packers? We will answer that question when we come back.
UW Stevens Point is home. It's a university where professors know your name and get you involved in research.
They inspire us to realize big dreams.
At UW-Stevens Point, sustainability is what we stand for.
Our beautiful campus encourages exploration, developing new fields, and problem solving for the real world.
It's a great place to launch your career.
UW-Stevens Point is home.
Apply today at uwsp..
Welcome back. 3 weeks ago, Odell Beckham Jr. left the Cleveland Browns, and many thought that he might join the Green Bay Packers. Packers tried their best to recruit Beckham to the squad, both Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams having Zoom meetings with OBJ, but ultimately Odell Beckham Jr. chose the Rams. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams took that decision personally on Sunday, shredding the vaunted defense of the Rams in Sunday's 36-28 victory over the Rams. So Ashton, you and I were talking about it. A lot of the keys to the Packers' potential success down the road is they have to get receivers down, receiving threats other than Davante, get some pressure on the offense. Yep. And Odell Beckham Jr. decided not to come to the Packers. But more importantly, they get back in the win column, but they also prove that they can score on some of the best defenses in the NFL. So what are some of your big takeaways from Sunday's game against the Rams?
Okay, so a couple of the big takeaways I got is that I feel like this offense really is centered around Aaron Rodgers and just the caliber of talent that he has. And like I said, I was really interested in seeing how Jordan Love did against the Chiefs. You know, he didn't do great, but he didn't do bad.
Right.
But it seems like when Aaron Rodgers is there, everything seems to work out so much better. And another thing I got is that this bye week could not come at a better time for the Packers. Right. They are just crushed by injuries right now, and that just makes things even more fascinating on how well they are doing right now.
Right.
They are killing it with how many injuries they got.
Especially with, you were talking about how well this bye week can do. Aaron Rodgers has that broken pinky toe, and it was definitely hurting him a bit. Obviously, he ran in for a touchdown yesterday, but still kind of gingerly running around on that toe.
Yeah, and it's not even just Aaron Rodgers and his toe, you know. You have Randall Cobb. He got taken out of the game at halftime because I think it was a groin injury. Yeah. So, you know, now you have a couple weeks before, so you can rest up and take time with that. As well as there's just been a multitude of other injuries that they've had to deal with at pretty much all their positions right now. You know, and that's just a testament to the depth that they have in, more importantly, the secondary, as I should say. You know, Jair Alexander, their star cornerback, got injured really early on in the season. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas has had to come in, and they've just been doing really, really well. Rasul Douglas had pick 6 in the game on Sunday, which turned out to be the big, big game winner.
The deciding factor. And
exactly.
Really, if you could point to an MVP on the defense, there's an argument Rasul Douglas can be there because he saved the game against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
And he essentially won the game yesterday. So he's one of the defensive MVPs. But I think what's more important for this win over the Rams is this team is very talented. They're loaded with talent. And to be able to beat them kind of sends a message to the NFL is the score, sure, it was an 8-point game. But really, if you watch that game from start to finish, it really didn't feel like the Packers were ever in danger of losing that game.
Yeah, it was really just in garbage time, honestly, at the end of the game where, you know, the Rams just started to creep up a little bit. But honestly, near the end of the game, they were down 11. It was like 2 minutes left. And they realized they really didn't have that much chance to try to get some. They wanted to get some points, make it look a little closer, you know, maybe an onside kick, but honestly, it just didn't work out for them in the end. And I think there's one more person we really do have to talk about on the Packers. That's A.J. Dillon. Mm-hmm. A.J. Dillon has just been doing phenomenal. He's just outclassing Aaron Jones in terms of the running back position. He is making a case right now for being the number 1 running back on the Packers, being RB number 1. He's been doing just phenomenal lately.
Quadzilla has definitely escaped.
Yes.
It's when like you said, Dillon, he and Jones are a good 1-2 punch. Now Aaron Jones is just coming back from an injury. Mm-hmm. And by saying we think Dillon is potentially number 1, that's by no means slighting Jones, right?
Exactly, yeah.
We agree on that. It's just having that 1-2 punch of Jones is a little bit more speed, and then if you got the freight train Dillon running down at you. It's just such an important part to have in this offense because you have such a talented quarterback in Rodgers. If you have a good run game, that's going to be a hard team to beat.
Exactly, and I think this is really going to be, again, 9-3 going into the bye week. I think this team is going to do very well come playoff time.
Right, and they have 5 very winnable games to end the season.
Very true.
The game out of the bye, the first game out of the bye, against the really struggling Chicago Bears.
Correct.
And obviously, there's definitely anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
But you think the Packers are definitely setting themselves up for potential getting the 1 seed, which is all the more important, seeing how stacked the NFC is this year. You want to get that home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And we saw last year, obviously Tampa Bay came in, they ended up winning the Super Bowl, but you gotta imagine, if Lambeau Field was sold out, if the crowd was roaring, would that make any more of a difference in the game? Maybe not, but you never know what can happen. I think your point to A.J. Dillon is massive yesterday. He had a few amazing plays that you can point out and saying, the game may have been different if that wasn't made. Right?
Exactly.
A few first downs, a few fourth down conversions. If a couple of those don't make, maybe this game turns out a different way. So I think A.J. Dillon, like you said, is a really big part. The Packers are really, it's setting themselves up for an exciting postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of the Sports Hub, everybody. I want to thank you so much for watching. And if you're at all interested, make sure you tune in to our YouTube channel at SPTV for all kinds of different content. For my partner, Ashton Parker, I'm Will Haroldson, and we'll see you next time.